Welcome to Power Living. You know, as a nurse, coach, Reiki master, and entrepreneur, I've built my life and my work around helping and empowering others to live their best, healthiest, most authentically happy and powerful lives. I share and visit with experts on all aspects of wellness, physical, emotional, financial, career, business, health, relationships, environmental, and more. So if you want to step into your best self, listen in each week as we share new and old ideas to set you up for the coming week as a fresh start to a better and better you. And I couldn't be happier to have, Ilani, we've been friends. I won't even count the years because I'll have to get a face cream. I'll have to have your face cream. But I'll tell you why I'm so tickled to share you here on the podcast is that you were one of my first mentors.
Oh, my
And
goodness. That really dates us, Kimberly.
Oh, thanks. I think you just called me an old hag.
In a very good way. I'm there with you all the way.
Well, I tell you, I really appreciate you. And my hubby just walked in. Anyway, really appreciate you. And I know we've had when I first met you, I think I had a La Leche Leg group. I still remember one of our moms who I just adore. And gosh, now her baby that you helped, what is like teen now. So,
Yes.
but some really great experiences. And I know we talked earlier just about this whole concept of energy work. As in particular, in your field of expertise, you've really taken some really complementary therapies along with your craniosacral therapy to really help in so many areas. And I think sometimes folks who are new to, maybe they're curious, or maybe they've had a little bit of energy work before. What is it all about? How does this remote healing thing work? And what is craniosacral therapy after all? Because it's quite robust. And you and I have talked about how a lot of these things, our bodies aren't little compartments, right? You don't just work on one thing, one segment, and everything affects everything. So our immune health, our emotional health, our just so many, even success in your professional life. And you have some great analogies to share. So I just thought maybe we could visit a little bit on that.
Oh, I would love to. Well, I'll share that I've been in the healing arts for over 25 years, and a little bit about my background so people understand my work a little better is that I used to be a school teacher many, many years ago, and I got sick. I was very, very stressed out, and life was not a very happy time for me. This is probably about 30 years ago, and I got very ill, and I had to take a year off from teaching. And it was an aha moment in my life where I had to look and see where things weren't working, and my body was unhappy. And from there, I said, okay, I need to really look at my body. My body's telling me something. What am I going to do? So I had a year off from teaching. I took a leave of absence, and I said, well, I guess I could go to massage school because then I'd get stress release and everything. And I remember when the first day I was in massage and we had put our hands on people, this is 30 years ago, and I went, I get this. I totally get this. My hands are listening to this body and I know what to do. I don't know, but it just felt very easeful and happy for me. And then from there, I never looked back. I kept taking more and more and more and more classes. And soon after I got my massage license, I went and I received some craniosacral therapy from a chiropractor, and the light bulb went on. I went, I have to do that. So from there, I just started taking more classes, and I never went back to teaching. I dove into the healing arts and have been in practice now for over 20 years. I can't believe it. So, and I met you in Idaho when my husband and my son lived there, and we lived there for 9 years, and now we live in Marin, and we've been here 10 years. I have a
Gosh,
practice.
that's crazy. It
I
doesn't
know.
seem like that long ago.
And I have a practice here in Marin, an office, and I also offer online healing sessions with craniosacral therapy and other energy uh, healing techniques I've learned over the many years I've been in practice. And
Which that's a crazy
so,
concept, right?
so it really is. I'll explain a little bit what craniosacral therapy is so people have an understanding. It is actually physical work. The hands read physical, this fluid, something called the fluid in the spine, and the body flexes and extends, kind of breathes to this beautiful fluid running up and down the spine. And from there, the practitioner can find areas of restriction even in the brain, in the liver, in the spine, anywhere in the body, because the fluid does not flow as well in those areas that are restricted and tight. And through many, many techniques in craniosacral therapy, the practitioner puts hands on very lightly, but invites the body to release. And the body, in its innate intelligence, lets go. It knows how to release. That we're wired this way from birth, that the body knows how to self-heal with help. With help. Sometimes it gets
When we give ourselves what we need, our body was created to heal.
to heal. I totally agree with you, and I've seen it so many times in my practice, and the miraculous things that happen when we give the body an opportunity to come to the forefront and support it and help it unwind and release. So it can be anywhere from a brain injury to a nervous system problem to stress, anxiety, neurological things, to all kinds of things.
Even I know I first learned about cranial sacral therapy through my work as an OB and
Yes,
a pediatric nurse. And in
yes,
La Leche League, they talk about it a lot. And so
yes,
even birth trauma,
yes,
the little bitty babe can
yeah.
benefit from.
Little babes really benefit from craniosacral therapy because it's based on light touch. Isn't a big manipulative thing. It's entering and respecting that body and just putting hands on very lightly and listening to what that body needs. And with little babies, they don't need more than a 0 to 1 gram of pressure at all. It's more of just the intention of the touch. And those little spirits just unwind and release. And birth trauma, sucking problems, aperture of the mouth, craniodysplasia from, cranial bones being off when the baby's born, all those things. So it's so exciting. I am so grateful I do what I do. I love it. I love it. And it's so great to see people get on with their lives and release from a lot of pain and emotional pain too, and suffering to move into their next steps in their lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, knowing that it takes little touch, how do you do little touch remote? Right?
Yeah, that's the key.
Because which is some of I do, as you know, with my Reiki practice, I do the distance work too. And that still
Yeah.
amazes me. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, if a client is seeing me physically, it really, in our culture, like we think more is better. But in the craniosacral world, less is better. It's actually asking the body through my touch what it needs to unwind and get optimal results. So many times, if one even has a little heavy hand, like 4 grams too tight, pressured, the body won't release. So in that moment, the practitioner backs off even more and again addresses it again. And many times that area will let go. And so the whole idea about letting go physically is about the tissues releasing, so circulation and oxygenation can get into the tissues. Nerves are not pressured. Everything relaxes around them, so there's less or no pain. And then also the body is getting the nutrients it needs to heal, self-heal quicker and more efficiently. So it's really very cool. But remote healing, I can address that a little bit about light pressure. Of course, I'm not there physically, but really, this is kind of out in woo-woo land a little, but quantum physics now, they've talked about this for 5 to 10 years, that there really is no time or space. It's a figment of our imagination. And they're looking out in space and seeing that we can enter into a place of not having to just believe in time or space and be in sacred space, which is what I do with clients.
Yeah.
It goes beyond actual time or space, and we go into sacred space. And that's the ancient shamans from many, many medicine workers around the year, around the world, and many, many years ago till now. They knew about that, and that's how they accessed healing for others through going into sacred space. So when I have a client online, we talk ahead of time and understand the issues and things and set people up and everything. And then I call that body to me through sacred space. And I can read the body craniosacrally, where there are restrictions, what's going on, and how to address them. And I wanted to mention that's the three-legged stool theory.
Three-legged stool.
Because I love that, because it really connects with this whole thing about there is no time or space, it's only sacred space. And what it is that if you could imagine a stool that has 3 legs and you can sit down on it, it's sturdy. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I like it. Yes, there we go.
Legs doesn't hold it. Nope.
Yeah.
You need 3.
You need 3. And so the 3 things one needs for really optimal healing is trust in the healing modality. That's leg number 1. Leg number 2 is trust in the practitioner. And number 3 is trust in the body's ability to self-heal and really know, get out of the way and surrender into that aspect of the body having an innate intelligence for self-healing. And it does. We just get carried away in our head.
Wouldn't you think? I mean, for folks who haven't experienced that before, I would even go so far as to say that being a little skeptical, I have found, doesn't really get in the way, so long as that skepticism is more based in a curiosity. I would like to see if this would work. I wonder how this can work, because that desire to believe is what leads to faith. And the more we practice faith, that's where we have the aha, I know this works.
Yes.
Wouldn't you think?
Yes. And it really is. Faith has to do with surrender. And we talked about that, about knowing in your heart, but then also letting go of what I think my results need to be, and having faith that there's even more than we can even imagine about what the results will be, even better than we could even imagine. But sometimes we can't even imagine it. It's letting go, having what you want as a result. Like, I really want my shoulder to feel better and not have this, but not be so clenched in how it has to come about, rather than letting go and going, I have faith this is going to happen, and I trust, the practitioner and the healing modality, and I'm entering into a process of self-healing here.
Process.
So, and then
trusting
so
that
many
it will
miracles
happen. Well, it'll happen at the time and in the way that will be for my ultimate and greatest good, right? And sometimes I think of it this way, Ilani, sometimes where we are, especially when you start talking about, concepts of, quantum physics, sometimes in our limited mindset, if you will, or limited knowledge, sometimes I think we're like little toddlers. A little toddler walks up to the stove and he can't see the hot burner on there, but it's a new territory and he's kind of eager to see what that is. He can't see that far, right? We bound to the earth here, most of us haven't transcended that space and time that we experience, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why babes and animals are so receptive to this kind of therapy. They're not limited by those preconceived, this is how things are.
And also layers of belief systems that we've been given by, our environment, parents and all that. Many are good and wonderful, but then it tends to limit us from our own curiosity, doesn't it? When we have so many prior belief systems. And so I would say, when I enter into a session with a client, I go into curiosity. And I'm like, okay, body, what is it that you want to tell me through my hands? And then from there, I get what's going on. And then to the best of my ability, I offer what that body needs at that time, be it craniosacral therapy, shamanic energy work, or maybe a little questioning about what's going on in someone's life so they can relax a little bit better, or whatever is needed in that moment. But I'm curious. And even though I've done thousands of sessions, each client is like a new adventure for me. And that's the wonderful thing about it. There are similarities, of course, with so many sessions I have been honored to give, but they're a new adventure, and I get new information every time of how to creatively approach that person's self-healing, be it physically in the body or emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And it all works as a whole.
Absolutely.
So
I love those concepts
so
that
cool.
You brought up, that the power of curiosity. I think that's so rich. When we are open enough to be curious, that tells me that we're open enough to learn and to grow. Experience something we haven't experienced before, and that's how we grow. And then too, you mentioned this whole, you know how much I love the word surrender. And I think it's an interesting paradox that's where we find true power, is in that process of letting go. And I often describe it like childbirth. Every woman who's given birth goes through this phase where she's like, I can't do this. I'm done. I'm going home, checking out, right? But you can't. And when she lets go and she surrenders to whatever, that's when the magic happens.
Yes, right. And ultimately, nothing is really in our control. We are inside a bigger picture than we can ever imagine. But in my opinion and feeling, it's really, it's very benign if we move into that bigger picture and the blessing about it. And also, it's not to say that we give up our body, mind, and soul and just give it over to something. It's more of like, this is what I really, truly want. I feel this in my heart, whether it be healing for something physically, emotionally, or mentally. I really want this. And I have faith that this will come about in some way, shape, or form, and I will get help along the way. And it's so important to ask for help because
Yes.
we can't go it alone. We are tribal people. We are social. Human beings are social. We need each
And
other.
interdependence. That does not mean that we're weak at all. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I would go so far to say that we're our strongest when we are our most humble. And
Right.
we have more control when we do surrender. It's an interesting paradox, don't you think? Like they talk,
I
you
do.
only find yourself when you lose yourself. It's
Yes.
interesting. I think that our lives are full of interesting paradoxes like that they don't make sense on the surface until open up that power of curiosity and spend some time in that space.
And play with it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
real serious. It can be
absolutely.
real play.
Experiment.
Yeah, it's a life is an experiment.
Yes.
And I really admire people that go above and beyond, and may have been brought up a certain way or have this belief system, but maybe it isn't working quite so well anymore. And just let go and look open a little bit more and see what's around them. And then really, when someone has an idea or an aha, it's a whole body experience, isn't it? It isn't
Oh,
like,
yeah.
a revelation or something. It's not like, oh, I like that. It's like, oh, I get it now. This makes sense to me. But you have to be curious first in order.
Absolutely. And then you have a whole new chapter, a whole new book of questions, and a whole new frontier to explore. And that's
Yes.
that whole process of becoming, right? And
Yes.
growing.
I feel that that in the micro thing in what I do as a healing practitioner, but I am never done learning. I'm always incorporating more from other practitioners, learning from them, other classes, from clients, how to approach things, and honing my skills will never end. It's it's a lifelong passion for me, and it gives me great joy to do what I do. And that's why I love learning it and relearning and practicing and incorporating more healing modalities. That's
So let me ask you this question. Let's just say, and this is a time where I think that our population, society in a whole, is really being stretched in terms of our energy, our emotional, our physical energy. I know I have felt that, and I will tell you my energy is up because I have gone on a news fast. The news fast and only listening to things that uplift. And I've definitely felt that. But let's just say that somebody's in that space where they know they're just not, they wish they had more. And even maybe they can't even put their finger on it. Maybe there's nothing really in their face wrong, but energy is a little low, which we know that has everything to do with our immune health, our physical health, like we talked about earlier. It affects everything. But let's just say somebody's in that space and they're saying, I'm a little curious. I'd like to know more. Maybe I'd like to experiment and try this out. How would they find out more about you? Where can they go to find you?
Oh, sure. Well, Ilani, Ilani Sessions, SESSIONS.com, IlaniSessions.com.
And we will post it in the show notes. So
Oh, great. Yes, that's my website. Or you can always email me and we can chat by email, or we can set up like a 15-minute consultation if you want to know more, free, just so if you feel that you're interested. And my email is info, INFO, at ilanisessions.com.
cool.
I
Well,
just
I
want
know I've had several sessions with you, and I've missed you since you've moved. So I'm definitely going to take you up on a tune-up.
Oh, awesome.
I have partaken of your table. Matter of fact, I think you were one of the first experiences I had with energy work in itself, And yes, I do remember seeing Northern Lights on your table.
What a beautiful image. I love it.
Well, I tell you, Ilani, I thank you so much for taking time and just sharing your gift. You
Oh,
have
my,
a gift, and I love that you demonstrate that. Just diligence and continuing to, and I've watched you over the years, you continue to develop that gift
mm,
and share that with others. And I
mm,
know for me, selfishly, I appreciate you for what you've brought to
yeah.
my life and to my family's life. And I'm really glad to have shared some time with you.
Oh, deep joy.
You're
And
precious to me. I hope you know that.
oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be on the show. And also too, there are people's stories on my website of other people who have received craniosacral sessions, and people are curious about from a client perspective as well as yours. They're on the website, and you can read them to get an
In
idea
some
of.
videos, they can actually see some.
Yeah.
I love the video with you and the babe.
Oh,
So
great.
I still remember, if you remember Ruth's babe at that first one of our first Leche League meetings there in Sandpoint. This babe, she said, cried, cried, cried all the time, just like one of mine. And Ilani, with her gentle touch, working on this little one for just a little bit. I remember she said, "Oh my gosh," she put her babe in the car seat and she slept the whole way home. She said she never does that ever. And yeah, it was really, really amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That makes me feel so happy, whenever that happens. And it's an amazing healing modality. And shamanic work is as well. The gifts from the elders from centuries ago are still, the earth medicine is so, so valuable to us today.
Powerful and sacred. And it's interesting. So the nurse in me, and I'm not well versed in shamanic medicine, but I have been studying a little bit of Chinese medicine, which causes a pain between my ears. Because there's so much correlation with some of these ancient therapies and this ancient wisdom. It fits right along with mainstream science, which to me is like, wow. And I think that's where the power of curiosity comes in. And as you play with that and as you experiment with that, what I've found and especially as we talked about that three-legged stool of faith, is that as you experiment, that's where you really have the experiences that lend power to your faith. And you receive the testimony where now this isn't just I hope this works. This is, wow, this is something that works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
firsthand. And your body doesn't lie. It will tell you exactly what is the truth in that moment of what you're experiencing.
well, and just like you kind of mentioned earlier, I think learning to listen to our bodies is critical.
Absolutely.
Because you
Yeah.
can't just people do that all the time. We hoof it, hoof it, hoof it all day. Sometimes I'm talking with folks and they have heavy duty lives and careers, but when it comes down to it, they're miserable. Some folks will tell. I still remember working with a client. She said, at the end of the day, I feel like a failure as a mother. She has a great job, great house, the boats, the cars, and all this. Everything looks good on the outside. And I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to look like everything's okay, and we're not really listening. And eventually that catches up to us. And honestly, I don't know that that's a bad thing, Ilani. I think sometimes, however, that healing has to occur and that insight and growth, even if that means taking a step back, that is
It
for our.
happened. It
Yeah.
happened with me when I was teaching, and I and it I came to an aha, as I said before, and went in a totally different direction. And I never looked back, and I was so grateful for that. We call it a healing crisis.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when it's really wonderful to ask for help. It really is. And whatever is right in the moment, counseling, body work, wherever. And I work with people such as that as well, who are in a moment of crisis, physically as well, emotionally and mentally. And it gives me great honor. It's an honor to work with people with that, to have them move through their own journey at their own way. Yeah.
Well, Ilani, I adore you. And
I adore you back.
I adore you more. We'll get in a contest. All right. So if you have questions, I highly encourage you to spend some time, get to know Ilani. She is a great treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And Ilani, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.